Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Kevin.
And I'm back.
You're back. Don't
I'm
ever,
back.
don't ever leave again. I don't know if you actually listened to what happened last
I
week.
did. I
Oh,
did.
please.
I did
Uh,
listen to it. It was good.
uh, well, you know what? I had some feedback that it wasn't bad for me being on my own. I thought it was completely shit. Like it was,
Was that your
it was.
mom telling you that?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was dad, and when I say dad, we call my buddy dad.
Oh,
Anyways,
I
but
was like,
yeah, no.
um,
Yeah, I know my dad's dead. It's not. It
yeah.
wasn't
Oh my
my
God.
father. He didn't come to me in a dream. It's fine.
Yes. Well, all right, Kevin.
I live
Uh,
in the uncomfortable. Don't
yeah.
worry.
Well, I'm back, and I will most likely, or not most likely, I will have a solo episode in a couple of weeks. So
Well,
it'll
it
be my
depends. It
turn to be awkward. So
depends on
it's all good.
how much trouble I can get in
Yeah,
doing a podcast on my anniversary away.
a lot. Decision has been made. You're not doing it.
But if I am drunk enough, will I care?
Moving on.
Okay.
We are back, and we were racing in Monza, and it's a good day to be Sabrina.
You're happy.
I'm
Well,
a
I mean,
happy camper.
I don't think there's anybody that watched this race that was unhappy.
True.
I mean, unless you really, really, really hate somebody who makes ice cream winning over a Formula One race. I mean, it was Charles Leclerc. Obviously, Charles Leclerc won in
Yeah.
Monza. Ferrari's home race.
Home race.
Um, looked completely unlikely. They pulled it out.
Yeah.
Had they had another 4 or 5 laps, probably not.
No, because yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about
Well,
it.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think there was anybody that was ever really upset about other than Lando and Piastri. But
extremely upset, but with each
oh,
other more so than anything. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a good race. Again, lots of working parts, lots of things happening. But we are going to kind of jump into a little bit of free practice and qualifying. There was more in qualifying than free practice.
yeah, not a
But
lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
start there.
free practice. I mean, you didn't get to watch a lot of it. I didn't really get to watch a lot of it. There wasn't really much to be missed, other than the fact that we had Kimi Antonelli, who was confirmed
Yeah,
finally this weekend to be. They were waiting for Monza to confirm him, and Toto blew it
yeah,
last weekend.
yeah.
But he was driving for free practice one in George Russell's car.
Hmm.
For some reason, instead, I don't know why you wouldn't give it to. You have to do a seat test. You have to change the seat and everything from the tallest guy on the grid.
Yeah, that was also the bizarre thing for me. It's, you why put him in, they'd have to change the seat so much. The height difference between the two of them is
Yeah.
crazy. Where he's closer to Lewis's
Well, and
side.
he's taking Lewis's seat, so
Yeah.
he's going to be in that
Yeah.
car with that chassis, presumably with that chassis next year, the same chassis
It-
or somewhere
It's kind of
similar.
working, so
Yeah. As long as they don't destroy it, I'm assuming they would use something similar or
yeah.
reuse pieces of it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, either way, there would probably been less work to fit him into Lewis's car than it
Yeah.
would to be into George's car.
Yeah.
And they get to George's car.
And then
And then he fucked it all up.
yeah. I didn't really see him lock up. I don't know
So
what
he
kind of
didn't
happened.
lock up. What had happened was, and I'd seen something where he had actually done the same thing in F2 or F3 in the same spot. So he was flying. Like
Yeah.
he was doing it like he was doing a qualifying lap. And he's only supposed to get in like 8-9 laps with, and I don't think it was even full fuel. It might have been, I don't remember exactly what they said. But FP1, usually it's not a full fuel run, I don't
Right.
believe. Anyways, he just lost the back end, went into a spin, and crashed and destroyed the car. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
He destroyed the car more so than the safety car did when the safety car went into it. Also, in before free practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just it was just bizarre, and it was like, oh, this is a kid's first time, like,
Well, he almost
you know,
put himself in the hospital. He
yeah,
hit the barriers at like 45 G's.
yeah.
That's a big crash.
But I do love that, like, right away, Toto was like, and we signed him,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so we know.
And
Don't
he's
worry, we
yeah,
signed
he's like
him.
he's on the radio. He's like, "It's okay, Kimmy, no problem. It's
Yeah,
okay." I'm like, "No, it's not. He
it's
just cost you like $500,000."
yeah, it's not okay at
Yeah,
all, and you have a race this weekend. It's not like
yeah.
we're at Silverstone just driving around.
George
But
didn't look happy.
no, George is like,
Yeah, it was the most British like anger I've ever seen. Just
yeah, just seething. Um, but yeah, free practice, nothing else really
FP2, FP3 was nothing really. Nothing.
exciting.
No, not at all.
And then we had quali,
Yeah,
which
we
I
had
completely missed. But
you missed it. I
yeah,
watched it. It was interesting. I mean, Q1, Q2 wasn't really that interesting. We had the usual suspects out in Q1, right?
yeah,
We had João Bottas, Colapinto, who actually his first race, the Argentinian driver who took over for Logan Sargent, was out there. He beat both Saubers, so
yay,
good on that. He didn't finish 20th.
yay,
Um, well, most of the time Logan had trouble beating one of them.
yeah,
So, and then we had Stroll and Tsunoda out, which was a little bit surprising to have Tsunoda out in Q1, yeah,
yeah,
and by almost 0.2 of a second, which was surprising behind
yeah.
the Alpines. He was, I'm looking here. No, okay, it's too much time. Quiet. Anyways, he was out. So,
Too much time.
yeah. Same thing. So Q2 again. The rest of them are all out. What really surprised me was Q1 and the order of things in Q1. I always
Q3.
expected Q3. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I expected the whole weekend that Norris was going to be on pole. I had a feeling, and he was. He was on
Yeah.
pole. I didn't expect 50% of the Red Bulls to be where they were. So, one of them.
Yeah, it was like,
I mean, Max finishes 7th, starts the race in 7th. And so he didn't necessarily have a bad run. He didn't have any obvious glaring mistakes. I don't
yeah,
know if it was Q2 maybe. He had gone off into the gravel once, but he didn't make that mistake, I don't believe, in Q1. It was just I mean, we know the McLarens are fast, but the
yeah,
Ferraris and the Mercedes, they've caught up.
yeah. Well, I didn't watch, but I was kind of watching the radar, and it was showing the 1, 2, 3, and it was like Verstappen was never there, and I was like, what is going on? What is going on? But I just wasn't near a TV or anything that I
He
could watch. But I was like, what is happening? Why is
at,
his name not even in second, third, maybe? But
at the beginning of the run, he had put himself into first ahead of Piastri.
mhm.
And then by that second run, he had nothing. He didn't improve on his second run,
Yeah,
and everybody else just took a chunk out of him.
yeah,
It was amazing to see, and it was supposed to be a front row lockup with the McLarens and a second row lockout with the Ferraris until George Russell put in. I don't know where he pulled this out of because he didn't look necessarily fast in the first sector.
yeah.
He looked good in the second, and then somewhere in the third sector, he
You
he
just like,
found something.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
popped up with something. I mean, yeah, we know the McLarens have been moving. The McLarens have been, they figured it out. Plain as
Yeah.
that. Oscar brought upgrades this weekend, I thought. Or did they both have upgrades? No.
I'm not
Lando
sure
already
which
had
one.
his full package. I feel like there was some sort of upgrade
Did he
with
have a full
Oscar.
package?
I think so. Before. I'm just continuing to go.
Yeah.
And then we know the Ferraris had a full
Say it. That's fine.
package
Yeah.
upgrade this weekend, which had kind of been talked about for a while, that there was this conspiracy because nothing really happened with the Ferrari since Monaco.
Yeah.
And there was this conspiracy floating around that they really only care to win Monaco and Monza.
Yeah.
And so they were saving their upgrades for Monza. Did they work? Looks like they did, because I mean they were fast. Um, the win kind of came out of nowhere, which we'll talk about in a second when we get into the race. But I mean the cars are faster. They're
They're
doing what
they're
they need
much
to
faster, and they're a lot closer. Like if you look at the
do.
Q3 times between uh first and fifth, so the two McLarens, a Mercedes, and a Ferrari, there was only a tenth and a half between them. It wasn't a lot. You know, even Lewis was only 2 tenths down, not even 2 tenths down. Um, and there's a big gap between those six and the RBs, the
Yeah.
Red Bulls, excuse me, not the RBs. There's almost a full second.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's catching up to the Red Bulls. I mean, they're actually not
Is
catching up.
it?
They've
Is it? Or
caught
are they
up.
not developing as quickly as everybody else is? Because, well, we can talk about it after. There are theories out there from, especially from Helmet and and Max,
Yeah.
um, about why their upgrades or why these problems aren't being solved as quickly as they should be.
Well, I mean, everybody's gonna have a theory when everybody else
I
is
don't think
doing
they're
better.
wrong though. I don't think they're wrong. If you know the theory, well, I'll say it now. The
Yeah.
theory is that after as soon as Adrian Newey took his hands off and he doesn't have the input of what could possibly be wrong, that's where they started to not necessarily fall apart, but they are not progressing in the manner that they should be.
Yeah. And we still don't know where Adrian's going.
I saw it today that it was almost all but confirmed. They're just waiting for a confirmation. It's Aston Martin. They're going
Aston
Aston Martin.
Martin.
There's no need for him to go to McLaren.
No,
Not the way
clearly
McLaren
not.
is going right now. We already know that he's not going to Ferrari.
Hmm.
I don't believe that he's got he's going to Mercedes. I don't think that Williams could afford him, unless the rumors that now that Santander is going to go to Williams after they leave Ferrari,
Sorry.
and put in their 60 million pounds of sponsorship or dollars or whatever it is. I think he's going to Aston Martin. He's
It's the
getting
only
that.
one that really makes sense
Yeah,
at this point.
he's getting that blank check from
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You fill this in however you feel.
yeah. Here,
Um,
take my
yeah.
son's money. I don't need him here.
God. Yeah. Um, all right. So then rolling into the race, and there's been a record that nobody actually wants to be a part of, but
Is this the Lando record?
no, this is
Oh,
it kind of goes to Lando, but this is the Monza record slash curse. The driver that finishes on pole never wins the race. Well, not never. In the last four
all of that.
races,
Yes.
the driver, last 4 years, sorry, the driver that finishes on pole has not won.
Well,
Um,
we also have that. I mean, a little mini stat that Lando has never actually led when he finishes pole. He's never actually led the race, finishing lap one. Somebody is always overtaken him. He
yeah.
is. It's happened 7 times. One, two, yeah, 7 times.
Wow. Well,
5 of them this year.
poor Lando.
He's- he has it. He can never. I don't know what it. Okay, we'll talk about the thing. But
Yeah.
he's a horrible race. He's better at a race start when he's starting in second or third. Because there's been
Yeah.
times where he's caught Max.
Yeah. Yeah. He needs to just start behind Max. That's,
Yeah, just don't take pole, I guess.
yeah. Just mess it up for yourself. But, so, I mean, saying that, he does have a decent start at the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
It's decent. Um, but he pushes across or comes across on Oscar, and Oscar's like, okay, I'll go to the other side. Cuts in front of George, respectfully, racing incident. They
What?
didn't touch, but
They didn't touch only because George had the good sense to move out of the way.
yeah,
Because Piastri was going out there and he didn't care who was behind him.
He didn't
He
care
didn't
who was
look. He didn't look
beside
at his
him, in front
mirror.
of
He
him.
just moved.
He just moved.
And
Yeah.
did you watch the Sky Sports broadcast like I did? Oh, you
Yes.
watched it on TSN, which is Sky
Yeah.
Sports.
Guys were-
Um, so they had actually had an interesting take as soon as they completed that first turn, which
Yeah.
was this was a good plan. He was going to come over and Piastri was going to cover off George, and it
Yeah.
seemed like it was all just a great dandy plan by McLaren.
Yeah.
I'm not so convinced
No.
because we get to turn 4 and Piastri puts himself, I don't want to say dangerous, but in a precarious spot, and he's just taking it out. Like
Yeah.
he's taking that spot.
It almost, I mean, I had to wait for the replay, but I thought they touched. I thought Oscar
It was
touched
close
Lando.
because Lando jerks out of the way at some point.
Yeah, it was extremely close. And then we kind of start to hear on not the team radios of the drivers, but you kind of start to get the impression that, Crofty and Brundle are realizing, oh, that may not have been a team order.
No,
And, they immediately start to look at how aggressive. And they're right. It looks like Oscar surprised Lando. He was
even
not
Lando said it.
yeah, he was not expecting him to be that aggressive that quickly. I think he was expecting the aggression of defense against George or whoever is behind,
Yeah,
but not against his own teammate.
no, especially not on. And we hear about it later on in the race. They had their team orders, their papaya orders or papaya rules or whatever the hell they
Mhm.
call it. Um,
Yeah.
but that was later on in the race. You're not expecting that before you've even completed half a lap, and you're still fighting. Everybody else is behind you.
Yeah. I think because they're two very likable drivers that we didn't hear those radios for a reason.
Oh yeah,
There was
yeah.
a reason
That
because
marketing was not.
yeah, there was stuff going on that we didn't hear about because I think especially when we did end up hearing those papaya rules, McLaren rules, it almost seemed like, okay guys, calm down. This is what
Yeah,
we're
you can fight.
doing.
Fight
Yeah.
respectively. Respectively.
It was kind of like, I mean, you've got kids, but like I just remember being like out with my mom and you're just like, when we get home. It was like the
No,
polite
100%.
talk. That was
100%.
what it was. Papaya rules with a smile.
Yeah. Well,
So
like it effectively ruins Lando's race because
yeah.
he pulls off that move. He's not expecting it, and Charles takes that opportunity and says, "I've got a gap here," and he
Yeah.
takes off, and that drops Lando down to third. He doesn't just lose one place,
No.
and he never recovers.
No, he really doesn't, even with an undercut. There is an undercut that's done, and he just can't. And he undercuts not only Charles, he undercuts
Which
Oscar.
yeah.
Which that's an issue that they've had before. The undercut of the
Well,
first driver.
the undercut worked.
It worked.
They weren't
Worked the
expecting
first
Ferrari to do what they did.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah,
but that George runoff there that he had to stop because Oscar cut him off, kind of screws George's race. He loses his end
Yep.
plate on his front wing. It doesn't seem to be. It wasn't really affecting his pace for a little bit. He was fine for a while, and then
it was, and then I think it was affecting his tires eventually because then
Mhm.
Perez gets him, and then they realize, okay, let's
we
pull you in
gotta-
now.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta change that. But I mean, Perez was immediately like, "This is dangerous. He needs a yellow or the orange."
Yeah, I mean the piece was already gone. It should he wanted the race stewards to call him in,
With
and
the
he
black and white. Yeah,
and he wanted just an easy overtake,
yeah.
which he didn't get.
No,
But
did
even
not.
that stop, I don't know if you noticed it. That stop was horrible. They had to change his
George's?
they had
Yeah.
to change his front wing, and they're not ready with the socket to take the front wing off. You
Yeah.
see somebody flying in from the garage to hand it over. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, yeah. It just a bit of a disaster.
It's
for a
not
lot
like
of
you.
people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We had on the first lap. I mean, aside from all the racing out in the front, you had Daniel locking up, hitting, coming into Hulkenberg.
Mhm.
which Daniel gets a 5-second penalty, which will be disastrous later on, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
So he gets his 5-second penalty, and somewhere later on, I think it was lap 8. Sorry, on before lap 8, lap 7, I believe it was.
Hmm.
Hulk runs right into the side of Yuki. It
Yes.
blocks up, takes out a side pod, and Yuki that causes Yuki to have to retire
Retire.
on lap
And
8.
yeah. Yeah. It just a lot
And yet we've
happening.
and yet we didn't get a safety car at all.
No.
We haven't
No.
had a safety car since Canada. This is the
Yeah.
7th race.
I think it was
This is the
yeah, they,
first.
yeah.
This is the first DNF in 5 races. I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah.
Um, but we still haven't had a safety car in 6 races, 6-ish races.
I mean,
Crazy. I
yeah.
thought there was gonna be one for today for sure.
Yeah. I did. I mean, in the first lap, there was lots of someone went off into. I guess it was Ricardo, that Ricardo Hulkenberg situation. There was something right at the back,
Yeah,
and there was gravel going up into the air, and a little bit
smoke
of a
every
smoke
yeah
dust. I
yeah
was like,
or dust
okay, here
yeah.
we go. But yeah, no safety car.
Nope.
Yuki retires lap 11. This was just a bit of a call out. I saw Colapinto had made it into 15th at that point, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, he was
he's moving
quietly just
along.
making his way up.
He
Yeah,
was just
yeah,
moving along, um taking spots. So uh Lando gets some DRS at some point to take Charles. This is, I think, after
no,
the
this was
undercut.
the
What?
lap 15. He changes, and then so he undercuts Charles, and then as soon as he undercuts Charles, then they bring Charles in the next lap,
Right.
which Charles was
Change.
on the radio not happy
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
had obviously gone for, at that point, were thinking about a one-stop search strategy, but they
Yeah.
they took him out early. Like
Yeah.
lap 16, they had 36 laps left to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just thought it was kind of dangerous, but Lando had DRS to take Charles.
Yeah,
Do the overtake, and they were like box, and you see Lando kind of come right across,
yeah,
forget the DRS, and he goes into the pit lane extremely fast,
locks up.
slams
Yeah,
on the brakes, locks up, hits the bollard,
yeah.
which surprisingly didn't cause damage. I mean,
And he was lucky that he didn't get like he stayed under that speed limit,
80
80
kilometers.
kilometers an hour. Yeah,
I
in the
don't know
pit lane.
how because he had his wing open. So, like, there's no way he was, anywhere close to 80 kilometers an
Yeah, that
hour.
was 100% a panic call.
Yeah. And they're
Yeah,
like, oh, come in right now. Come in
yeah,
right
yeah,
now. But yeah, he was fine. The undercut did work.
yeah.
But like you said, Charles came in right away. And he was
Well,
pissed.
yeah.
He
I
was
mean,
pissed. He's
they
like, if
could have
we
kept.
just got undercut, what the
Why am I
fuck?
calling again? Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
point? The undercut for them worked. So why am I coming
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
He could have gone another 4, 5 laps
At
and still
least.
gone for that one stop strategy,
At
and not
least.
be doing the last 4 laps biting your nails thinking you're gonna get a puncture or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Honestly. But as we know, it worked.
it worked.
It worked, and I don't think even
And
anybody
Sainz even
realized.
no Sainz also did a one stopper as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he got
Both Ferraris. Yeah, they both did the one stop, and I know after the race, Fred was like, "Ooh, it was a hard call, but they kind of needed to leave Carlos out for a little bit, and then it was just like, there's no point. Leave him
yeah.
where he is now. He's able to manage the tires."
He
But
also did pit later than Leclerc did.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, he had a little bit.
this was an absolutely a bit go big or go home moment for
Yep.
Ferrari. They could have had both cars out, or they both finished the race and
Yeah,
with the potential win, and it worked
yeah,
out for them. For
yeah,
as much as we talked about their strategists being complete clowns and not being able
yeah,
to make a proper decision,
yeah,
I mean, they took a gamble. I'm not gonna say this was a great strategy. They took a gamble and it
no.
worked.
I think this was a gamble of, if we tell Leclerc to come in again, he's going to kill us.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So,
gonna, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
He's
even
gonna
like his radio at one point, they were telling him to try mode something, and he's like, if I didn't ask you, if I didn't do it the
Do it.
first 10
Yeah.
times, stop asking
Don't
me.
ask me. If I don't do it, don't ask me again.
And it was just like, okay, we cannot ask him to box right now. Let's
Yeah.
just but I think he was seeing that he could probably do this. He could probably get there. And I don't think when we started to see that there was that gap at the front, even Crofty and Brendel didn't realize what Ferrari was doing. They're like, there's no way. There's no
Yeah.
way they're gonna do this on a one stop and starting getting those tires so early.
And
Um
they were looking at his tires and they could see the grading. They were talking about how different,
they
like
kept doing the zoom
they were
in on
striped and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, no, it's not happening. And so even when McLaren had come, they'd done their second stop and they'd come back out, they were still saying, you know, well, this they're fighting for first and second because they were like, Ferrari has to come back in.
Yeah.
And they weren't realizing until pretty late. It was like, oh wait, no, no, no. Ferrari's not moving. Ferrari is staying
Yeah, because
right where they are.
it was like by lap 45, then they started realizing, oh wait, no,
Yeah,
they're gonna actually try to make this work.
they're gonna do it. So it was. I
But the
don't
whole
think
time,
anybody.
like, no, everybody's like, after you
Yeah,
got to a certain and you realize that they're not coming in. I'm waiting for a lockup. I'm waiting for him to
yeah,
go into a spin. It's something like,
yeah,
but and I watched the post race and we had Alex Brundle. We didn't. They had Alex Brundle explaining and just analyzing Charles' driving, and he drove that. He managed his tires like I've never seen anybody manage their tires.
yeah.
Like the way he was gently coming off the steering wheel, off the throttle, how he was giving himself a little bit more time to react. Um, he did that. He managed that race perfectly.
And what helped him is he had the space. Yes,
Yes.
Oscar was
Yeah.
now in second and Oscar was gaining, but he had I think when we realized and when Oscar kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, this is what's happening. I think it was probably 10 and a bit seconds, or maybe 11 seconds between them. And then so he had that little bit of breathing room. If Oscar was 5 seconds behind him, he wouldn't have been able to do what he was doing with the
No.
tires. He would be defending, and that's where you lose
Well, and
time.
he had to come out and they had to get past Signs again, so Signs helped them back them up
Yeah,
a little bit. You didn't see the post interviews. They were not happy. Piastri was not happy with some of the blue flags that he had to pass.
yeah.
One of them being Stroll. So he specifically called out Stroll and said, when he didn't obviously see the blue flags, it was like he was driving his first go-kart race out there. Just
Well,
completely like it wasn't anger, it wasn't happiness, it wasn't nothing. It was just normal,
Oscar.
normal Oscar. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Nothing Oscar says has emotion. There is
yeah.
no
No, yeah.
like if he's excited, nothing. So, um, and then we kind of start to see, and I think once everybody kind of realized what Ferrari was doing, we start to see the breakdown in McLaren again. In between the
Yeah.
team, that's where we start to get the radios. That's when it's like, we'll papaya rules. You will
Well,
be
but
able to race them. Like,
that's what everybody's expecting,
yeah,
and kind of conflicted. Well, no, I'm not conflicted, but you know, you have two drivers. Yeah, okay. You have the potential to take over the constructors, which they did.
mhm,
I think there's 6 points ahead now in the constructors,
something like that.
something like that. But you have a driver who is, let's make no mistake about it, he's your number one driver. Whether you say it in the media or not, he is your
Yeah,
number one driver. He's the one who's putting himself on pole. He's the one putting up the best times, fastest laps, your most marketable driver. He's your number one. If you're not taking the chance to put him on the highest podium step, to give him those extra 3 points or 6 points, whatever it is,
yeah.
um, so he can fight for a driver's championship, you're doing it wrong. I
You
don't
should be
know.
fighting for both. You like
Well,
we
yeah,
know they're fighting for constructors, but why are you not fighting? Because
Oscar has
driver,
no chance. I know he's not
no,
mathematically eliminated yet, but he has no chance to catch Max for the
no,
driver's championship.
no.
Lando does, and he needs the help.
And the last few races, Max is not. He's finishing just on pole or just off of pole or podium. Sorry. So take the opportunity, give Lando as many points as he can.
They did the math after the last race.
Yeah,
Lando needed to win every single race, get fastest lap every single race, and win the sprints. And if Max was going to finish second in every
yeah,
race to
yeah,
win, and he would win by a couple of points.
yeah,
You have Max who's going to finish in sixth or seventh this race. You have the absolute best chance to capitalize on points. You tell Oscar, and they said it earlier
yeah,
when Oscar was winning. When Lando was ahead and they wanted Oscar to switch the place back, which again, you look at all the points that he lost out on 7 points there
yeah,
when nobody thought that they were going to be able to catch Max at that point.
yeah,
But you told him on the radio, you need him as your teammate if you want to win the championship.
yeah.
Well, tell his teammate to move the fuck out of the way.
Honestly,
Like
yeah.
switch on the last lap. That's all you got to do. Wait till you get right before
All you have to
yeah. Wait till the last corner and let him through you. And
Yeah.
you can. It makes no sense to play the nice cop here.
No, it really doesn't. And again, especially when you have the opportunity when Max is finishing sixth and seventh, where he's getting minimal points, absolutely minimal points.
Yeah.
Um, this is ideal. You want Lando in the second. He's not getting first. Get him on second. We need him to
It's an
have
extra
points.
3 points. It's an
It's
extra
a,
three
yeah.
points.
So it doesn't make sense. I'm not sure what McLaren is playing at.
So I'm wondering, and I watched the broadcast after, and I heard from we got to hear from Zach,
Mhm.
who says we have two number one drivers. They're both fighting. We have two number one drivers. It was just complete avoidance the whole time.
Yeah.
We didn't hear from Andrea Stella. We didn't hear from Andrea Stella, which we have quite consistently over the last few races. I wonder if there's some divide in the decision making, and Zach's like, "This is what's going to happen," and that's it.
Yeah. So Stella he was on Sky Sports. So you
Oh,
were
was he?
watching
Okay.
F1 TV.
Oh yeah.
But it was more about the cars and, that kind of stuff. And, it was just like, oh, I haven't talked to either of the drivers yet. And I think Zach kind of said the same thing was, I haven't talked to them yet. But, you know, it, Brundle made a statement right at the end. And he said, and I quote, Piastri has zero interest in Lando Norris's championship.
100%.
Fact.
100%.
And it's very clear, and it was very clear from lap one. And again, your biggest rival is your teammate, but we thought they figured this out. You guys should have figured it out. What are these papaya rules if we're not following them?
Well, no, yeah, and you as a team, you have to do what's the best for both your drivers. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but Piastri, again, he has no chance to win.
No.
If you have the chance for both championships, you go for both championships.
Lando winning the
Suck it
driver
up, Piastri.
Yeah, like Lando winning drivers impacts McLaren. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna get money off.
Let's
of it. You're
take
going to get like
let's take out let's take out Verstappen. Let's take out Hamilton. Let's take out Schumacher. Let's take out all Vettel. You don't get these chances to win a drivers' championship every single year.
no.
You don't.
This is
They're
the
few and far
closest.
between.
This is the closest McLaren has been in a very long time, and whether it's for McLaren specifically, I would say they have figured it out in terms of their car. They have met where Red Bull was, especially last weekend. You can see,
Yeah.
that gap of 22 seconds of Lando winning. Everybody else, they've gotten faster, but we're also seeing the decline of the Red Bull.
Yeah.
But I think McLaren is the only car right now that is truly beating the Red Bull based on what they've done to the car. They've figured out how to do it. And they're not capitalizing on it. They're just not. And like you said, Lando is the marketable driver. Get him the drivers' championship. It's going to help you guys in the end.
If for some reason they get to the end and he loses this by 10 points, anywhere within that 10 points,
Yeah.
like I'm taking my exit clause at McLaren.
Mhm.
It's either Piastri's gone or I'm gone because
Yeah.
you literally you bet me over and you gave it to me as hard as you could.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a way to say
if
it.
we've got 8 races left, no,
Yes.
7 races left because we did 3 already.
Is this 3 already?
Yeah, we did Spa, Netherlands, and things. So we have 7
Oh,
races
wow.
left.
Okay.
We have 7 left. So there's not a lot of points to be had. If
No.
you somehow lose by 10 points, I'm,
Like,
I,
yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna be pissed.
yeah. And I think, Piastri's win slash well, Piastri's win.
Piastri's
Um,
gift, yeah,
yeah, that is going to make their 7 point. Here is the other three
yeah.
points. You're 10. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot do this again.
No, they
They
can't do it again.
really, they,
They
they
can't. They can't
can't.
be robbing Lando of
Yeah.
points.
If Lando gets another pole, whoever finishes quali higher, it's your race that weekend. As long as, they're actually racing well, and they're fighting and what have you. I mean, it's bizarre. It's bizarre what McLaren's doing right now.
I think it's absolute horseshit.
Yeah, it's like they are suddenly winning and they just don't know what to do with it. It's like
I
everything's gone
think
out
they're
the window.
so concerned about their brand or like not hurting their drivers' feelings that they'd rather be nice to both of them. I mean, they're being much more nice to Piastri.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're favoring him. I mean, I'm looking at it now. Norris is 62 points, 62 points behind Verstappen, where he could have been 52.
yeah. Well, and that was the other thing too is uh Max wasn't getting fastest lap today. He
No,
didn't get it, did he? So again, another way to capitalize on points.
Piastri's 106 points after today behind Verstappen. He is not catching Max.
They need to be using Piastri the way Red Bull used Perez
Or Mercedes
in
used Bottas.
2021 for both of them. And it really is, you're still part of the team. We still want you on the podium, but we need you to
I mean, should be a
follow the
team
team.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need you, your time will come, but right now with 7 races left, it'll be next year. We'll try again next year.
Yeah.
But it, and again, you can see in the cool down room just the defeated look
Oh, they
on.
didn't say anything. They didn't even look at each
No,
other.
they did not.
In the
And
interviews after, the same thing. They didn't even
yeah,
speak to each other. I mean, I know they spoke to
yeah,
each other after the race,
yeah,
but again, their issue is not with each other. Their issue is with their team.
with the team, but
A racer's gonna race.
it also is going to affect them what the team does,
Well,
and
yeah,
it's going to affect their relationship
but
at some point.
and I don't blame Oscar. Listen, if you're not gonna give me clear instructions, I'm gonna race.
Yeah, yeah,
This ultimately comes down to team and their management of their drivers.
yeah. And Nico told them. I mean, we talked about Nico and
He said it to
rivalry.
Andrea Stella.
He said it right to his face.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you have to be absolutely clear. And you guys have your team, or have both in a 1-2 scenario again after
But you're not
quality.
being clear because you're saying you're both my number ones.
Yeah. Like,
There's you can't. There's a number one
yeah.
and there's a number two. You don't have two number ones. Nobody has two
No.
number ones.
No. You absolutely don't. So McLaren, I think if they continue the way they are, they're going to possibly shit the bed. We
Yeah.
now see Ferrari is fast, and Ferrari's not that far off in terms of. I think Leclerc is a little far off from getting the drivers, but Ferrari's not too far off from
No, they're only
constructor.
40 points or something like that from
Right.
constructors,
So if McLaren continues the way they're doing, I think we're going to see the drivers take things into their own hands, which causes
which
accidents,
is yeah,
and
it's
then
inevitable.
they're going to shit the bed.
And we're going to see
Yeah.
this next year too. We're going to see this next year with Lewis and Leclerc.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Oh
two
yeah,
number one drivers again. It's absolute horseshit.
yeah,
I
for
hate
sure.
it.
Just pick one. I mean, after this win, I think Lewis is gonna have a hard time being, you know,
Well, Lewis already
second.
said he's not learning Italian,
He's
so I
not
mean he's
learning
already number
Italian.
two.
Yeah, and Charles is king as of today. So
He's Jesus, yeah. He's
the
absolute
king of
Jesus, yeah.
Italy.
Yeah. They're gonna
So
just put him up room and board in the Coliseum.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, a good day for Ferrari. I'm just gonna say all around good day for Ferrari.
Yeah, great
Um,
day. Again, big risk, big reward. So,
yeah,
I mean, good
it's
on them
their
for
home
for
race.
having the balls to make that call.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah,
one of those that like I said, I think they saw the window and they were like, "Ooh,
and
we
they
have
were
no choice."
and they were those fans were cheering every time he came past the
Yeah,
grandstand, and they're like, he's still alive for one more lap.
yeah, he's still here.
Just-
Great. Okay. I mean, it got to the point that I think they wanted to speak to Karoon more or Ted down in the pit lane, and they just couldn't because of the
couldn't hear it.
screaming.
I like what a
It was
celebration.
great. Oh
I
gosh,
couldn't hear the anthems playing over
yeah,
the
the
speakers
singing.
because they were singing. They were
Yeah,
singing it all, and I've never seen that track so packed,
yeah,
like packed.
yeah,
After it was amazing. You couldn't even see
yeah,
them. There was flares going off. It
yeah.
was like you couldn't see anything.
Yeah. The
It was great.
at the end of Sky Sports, Nico and Karoon were trying to say something, and they're like, and Charles actually came out to do the selfie that he's now posted, and they were like, let's just put the microphones to the crowd. Like
Yeah.
they couldn't, you couldn't hear them.
Oh,
Um,
Even Will Buxton came back at the end to do his post race interview,
yeah,
and he had just gotten back from the grid, and he's just like, and he looked exhausted, just trying to fight through all the people. Like he was
yeah,
just holy.
yeah. It was good for them, good for Ferrari, good for Charles. I mean, we haven't seen him do much. He's kind of snuck onto the on the podium
He got
a
the two
couple
biggest
races now,
wins.
but he's got his
He,
two big
he,
wins,
he
and
can end the season. He's happy.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's kind of the race. Franco Colapinto finished
Finished 12th.
12th.
Very respectable for a guy who's only put 8 laps in an F1 car before this.
Yeah,
Before all the practice and everything,
yeah.
he drove pretty well. He was never really in any danger.
No, he just
You know,
did his own thing.
yeah, had a couple
Um,
of nice overtakes.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, promising.
yeah. I
It
mean,
seems promising that he would have somebody that could maybe not match Albon, but
yeah.
kind of
So he's obviously not going to be in that car
next year. No,
next year, but good experience for him being in a
sure,
Formula One and getting that close to points as well.
yeah,
In a Williams that the former driver was not putting up those numbers. So
no, he was more of a liability than he was.
yeah,
Anything. He was.
yeah,
I mean, I know damage wise, damage cost is not far off from maybe a little bit more than Albon, but Albon had that big crash where
yeah,
you had to replace the chassis and everything.
that they didn't have.
But he had one serious crash.
Yeah, which
Logan,
equaled the amount.
several. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the
Um,
overtime hours that you have to pay your
yeah.
mechanics.
Yeah. And I mean, we've all seen the videos of, Logan crashing and just the all the will coming out, the will to
Exhaustion.
live
Yeah.
coming out of the pit crew. They're like, oh,
Oh, again.
here we go. Another late night. And they just see the Red Bull and Ferrari drivers walking by, or
Yeah.
pit
We'll
crews.
see you tomorrow. They're all
Yeah.
on yachts having drinks.
Yeah, honestly. And I mean, I know we posted it on socials, but for everybody asking or wondering, nobody's asking right now, wondering why Logan wasn't there. If you haven't seen, Logan has been replaced for the rest of the season by Williams, by Franco Colapinto.
Yeah.
So you will see him and his name going forward. And there was rumblings of it previously that if it was going to be changed, it would be before Monza, and then he had a big crash last weekend.
Last weekend, yeah.
Yeah, last weekend,
Okay.
and they were like,
We're done.
"That's it." Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
That their mind was made up as soon as it was done.
As soon as that car sort of locked up, they were like, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah.
They were on the phone. Um, but yeah, so that was the
That
race.
was the race. That was the race. A lot
Yeah,
going on.
lots.
Um, yeah.
News,
News. So,
news,
what do I
a
want to
lot.
start with?
There's a
Yeah.
lot of
What do I
news.
want to start with? We won't talk about the. So after the race, we have Kevin Magnussen, who had another
Mhm.
10-second time penalty, which he was on 10 penalty points going into this race. If you get 12 penalty points, you have a race ban. For getting a 10-second penalty is an automatic 2 points. So he was called to the stewards. So he had locked up. I forget which lap it was. I have it here, but I don't need to figure out exactly which lap it was on. He locked up trying to go for an overtake, and then ended up going to the side of, I forget who it was.
Stroll? No.
No, I don't think it was an Aston Martin. Was it Daniels? No, he went to the side of somebody.
Whatever.
It doesn't
We
matter.
got somebody.
He hit somebody. The stewards deemed that it was his fault, so he got those extra 2 points. He got a 10-second penalty. He also got those two penalty points.
Yeah.
So he has a race ban. He has a race ban. We go into Baku in 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And so he will not be racing, which is just another opportunity for Ollie Behrman
Yes.
to get into his Haas a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about it earlier this week, just the amount of rookies we're going to have next year. But then even this, like we have Colapinto, we have Behrman, we have Kimi
Yeah.
Antonelli crashing cars. But next year we're going to have Kimi, we're going to have Behrman, we're going to have, who else was there? Duhan for
Hmm.
Alpine. It's going to be a very young grid going into next year.
Very young. Um, considering
I mean, it's a
Kimmy
young
just turned
sport, but
18. Kimmy just turned 18. Um, Colapinto was the youngest today,
yes,
which I think he's like 21, maybe. But
something like that.
um, yeah, it's been a reserve drivers, F2 people coming up, junior team
Yeah,
coming up. But yeah, Ollie gets to try out his seat.
again, yeah,
Um, yeah, so we'll see what happens in 2 weeks. Um, but yeah, it is going to be a young grid, and it's funny. Like it kind of makes me think. Stroll did that interview where he talked about the old dogs and the ones with money that keep in. It doesn't make
yeah,
room
yeah.
for the reserve
Who
drivers, and it's
coming
like,
up? Yeah,
yeah,
you exactly.
you're the
You're the
one
one who
that,
took somebody's spot, who
yeah,
paid to take somebody's spot.
exactly. So, but it just, I mean, it's him saying that and then seeing how many have showed up this year, how many are going to be on the grid next year. It is nice to see a change, although, that means we're losing some people, but I think
Yeah, but I mean, we're losing
the
people
right
that
people.
have potentially have the talent to make things more exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I would agree with that.
Speaking of Kimmy, we did have Toto talking this week. So there's a couple of Toto quotes. I'll stick with one, right? And then I want to talk about something. But about him talking about Kimmy. So they've officially announced it again, like I said, saying, and then Toto saying that, as soon as Lewis had told him that he was going to Ferrari, it was always going to be Kimmy. That they, yes, they did still look at Max, but it was always going to be Kimmy. I mean, I like Toto. I like listening to him speak. He's obviously a very intelligent person.
Yeah.
This is not one of his more intelligent things to say. It
No.
was never always Kimmy.
It
Don't
was never
bullshit the
always.
rest of the fucking world.
Yeah.
As soon as Carlos was available, you looked at Carlos. As soon as Max was available, or well, supposedly available, you
Yeah.
looked at Max. Okay,
Yeah.
Kimmy was always an option,
He was an option.
but it
He
was
was
never your guaranteed.
no.
Kimmy's in our seat. Like,
Yeah.
stop bullshitting people.
They had Mick, which I'm sure you have some news to talk about Mick,
Oh, we
but
have. We're going to talk about
they
Mick.
they had Mick doing testing for them. So again,
I
it
mean,
was
Mick tested
never
like 2 days
yes.
and
I
then
mean,
sim.
but he keeps him there. He could have been an option. We know he wasn't the greatest.
And
Um, but uh
yeah,
yeah. He had him as an option. Uh, and again, at the time when everything was going down with Lewis and Kimmy, Kimmy wasn't old enough. So for him to
No,
always be your option,
you weren't even going to know if you're going to get the exception.
you didn't know. You had no idea. You had to submit something to see if Kimmy would even be an option for you to sign at
Which
that
they
point.
only had submitted in what, June?
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that. So
And
you
Lewis
were
got
like
it February.
Lewis told you in December, and it
Yeah.
came out in late January, early
February.
February.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was no what you knew since December, but you didn't actually make this,
Yeah.
make this call or this exception notice or whatever till well into the season,
Yeah.
when maybe
Just
you started to actually think Kimmy should be.
yeah. Yeah. It's just BS.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. Before I get into the thing that I'm going to probably have my longest rant about, with Kimmy coming in next year, did you see the thing about the numbers, the driver
No,
numbers? Okay.
did not.
So apparently, I didn't know this. When you pick a number for yourself as a driver, that is your number for your career.
Hmm.
Didn't
For
know that.
life. I knew
Yeah.
that. That part I knew.
But when somebody leaves or whatever after 2 years, so like if you have a number after and it's gone, whatever, you retire for whatever reason, that number can't be used for 2 years or 3 years, and then it's up for picks again.
Yeah.
So Jack Doohan had said, I think shortly after he was confirmed, that he was going to take number 12. I think it's always very obvious that number 12 is what I want, and that's what I'm going to pick. Um, and so they had just about started the process, but then he's getting screwed because they started that process for Kimmy, not just a bit before that. So, so Kimmy, and by the FIA rules, the first person to put in the request for the number is the one who's going to get that number. So we have a little bit of a rookie rivalry.
Because Doohan's going with 43, isn't he? He's
Yes,
going to
but he
be.
wanted number 12.
Oh, I see. I saw 43. I was like, oh,
No,
okay,
he
cool.
wanted number 12, but apparently Kimmy Antonelli had put in his application for number 12 before Doohan, like the week before or something like that.
So when do they get to do that?
I'm assuming when there's a contract signed.
So Kimmy's contract has been signed for a while then.
I don't know exactly. I don't.
Well,
This is
yeah.
my this is my
I'm like asking
speculation. Yeah,
you
yeah. Like I
because
can't ask Stefano Domenicali exactly how it works, but I'm assuming like you would have
interesting.
to be a potential or
Interesting.
yeah. So I yeah. My question is now, because my mind works in some weird stupid ways. Okay, that's their little rookie rivalry.
Yeah.
Max may not win the championship this year. So it would stand to reason that he would not have the number one next year.
Right.
If I am an asshole rookie, do I pick 33 for next year?
Okay. So I know. Well,
I mean, because me being I would, just in
but I'm
case.
wondering. I'm wondering if because the number one can change possibly season to season, do they does that 2 year rule still stand? Like, is 33 up for grabs now?
Yes, because he hasn't had 33 for 3 years. It's a 2 year, 3 year wait.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if he does win again, does he have to?
No, he
Because
could still
number one
he would
is
stay with number one. But my
mm,
weird scenario is that he doesn't win this championship this year, which means he would probably give up that number one because he only got it because he won the championship,
right.
right? He would likely go back to 33. But if I'm a
Yeah.
rookie
Okay.
coming in
He
next
probably
year,
has
so
to
if
go
I'm Behrman, I mean Behrman probably looks too nice to do it, but or Doohan or Kimmy,
all of
especially
them
if I
look
was
too
Kimmy
nice.
going into a Mercedes, I'd be picking 33.
All of them look too nice to do it.
I know, but it's such a great opportunity for some drama, just for
Yeah.
fun, just for
Yeah.
fun.
Well, and I'm just
And
like,
then Max has got to change to something else.
see, I feel like they should keep when you get number one, you still should get your number for life because number one isn't technically your number. That's
Yes, it
just a
is. You
number
change
you
it.
can have.
No, that's what I love about this sport is everybody's just a ruthless asshole. So
Except
I don't
McLaren,
think.
apparently.
Well, the drivers are it's just the.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But yeah. So,
And
anyways,
then
that was
Lewis,
just
Lewis never changed his number. Lewis
Lewis never
always
did.
stood,
No,
yeah,
Lewis never
he stuck
did.
with 44.
Yeah, Lewis always.
Humble.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Humble.
Yeah. When he wants to be.
Yeah, fair.
Um. Anyways, we'll move on from there.
Okay.
The other thing we talked about this a little bit. Was James's comments this weekend
Hmm.
going in. Now we have differing opinions, similar, different,
Yeah.
whatever. So I guess he was asked. Obviously, he's got Carlos signed. Signed. They were asking about other drivers that had been there, so they'd asked about a couple other things, but they also asked about Mick Schumacher, who is a reserve driver for Mercedes. Williams has Mercedes engines. Seemed like it would have been easy, but they were also asked about like Liam Lawson and stuff
Yeah.
because I know there was that option as well. But and now all the quotes you see a little snippet of the quote. It wasn't the whole
The
thing,
whole thing.
but basically he said that Mick had his time in F1. He's a fine driver, but he's not special. So he said, then everybody puts Mick isn't special. He would just be good. Toto shoots back afterwards and saying, that statement could have been avoided. If you're not going to be giving him the chance, you shouldn't talk. Basically, is what he said. No,
Okay.
I'll get your opinion because I've got
Okay.
several opinions.
I know. Okay. So my thing, I don't totally agree with what Toto said, but
Hmm.
I think it was a unnecessary shot. The like
Oh, see, I don't.
I think it was an unnecessary shot. The shots fired. Like I just it was
I don't even see it as a shot. I see it as, let's be honest here.
he did clarify
Everybody
later on, but still.
everybody wants him around because it's Schumacher, right?
The
And
name.
Toto said it earlier that
Yeah.
if Mick or sorry, he said that if Michael was here, we wouldn't be saying these things about Mick, which I think is wrong because Mick isn't special. Everybody expects him to be special because he's a Schumacher. Ralph Schumacher wasn't special. He was a good driver, but he wasn't special. There's only one Michael Schumacher. Like
Yeah.
there's only one Wayne Gretzky. There's only one Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
There's only one special person. You can't expect that their genetics are going to make them special and their name is going to make them special. He wasn't special. Was he good? Sure. Maybe not even. But he wasn't special. And I think it's time, and I think what James meant, and I think he was completely right in saying it, is because he's a Schumacher, everybody has to get this out of their head that he deserves this extra chance over everybody else.
Right. Which I then go to, I mean, the question being asked is, it didn't need to be asked. But then I think
But
James
they
just
always
took it.
do.
They
I think he's
always
tired
have.
of hearing it.
And then and that's why he came back and said he apologized and all that. But um it was the special part. James, or not James, Mick is not a spectacular driver, or we haven't seen him be spectacular in the times he's driven. It just hasn't happened. Um, was he in the wrong car at the time? We don't know. Uh, but again, like to your point, there is just because of his name, people think he's going to be this spectacular driver.
Or they
I
give him
just think
leniences for it.
I just think it was
Undeserved.
totally left field of James to say. Like he could have just said, "No, like we just, we thought
I
about it,
think
but we went the other direction because
I think he was putting it to bed. I think he's
maybe."
tired of being asked for it and be like and
Yeah.
telling everybody, listen, okay, that's enough. He is not somebody special enough to be in an F. Like he doesn't have that. He doesn't have it.
Well, and I mean, if they're stacking it up against, you're stacking up Carlos, Mick, Liam.
I'd still
Carlos
put
is the obvious choice,
and I'd still take Liam over
and
Mick.
and Liam over Mick. So it was just I didn't like how he said he's not special. You have to hear the whole
I loved it. I think it
sentence.
was exactly what people
The
needed to
whole
hear.
sentence.
I think no, I did
But
honestly, and you know, it's not a shot against Mick. It's not. It's just stop putting this expectation on this person
yeah.
because of who their father is. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then Toto, the second quote, like, shut up.
Yeah.
If
Well, and
he's
like
not good enough to go in your car, you don't even have him in a practice session. You don't even
right.
put him in free practice. You put him in driving sessions for the old W14 or W13. You don't
Yeah.
put him in your new car. You put him on in the sim. You
Yeah.
didn't fight enough for him to get into another car where
Yeah.
a customer team.
Yeah, and like that's why I was kind of like Toto, you're backing Mick, which okay, whatever, someone to back him, but you're backing him in a way that it's like, okay, well, why didn't you choose him? You're saying James should have chosen him, but why didn't you? Because he's your reserve driver. So why
For
hasn't he been doing all this stuff?
for
So
everything that I love listening about Toto, everything that came out of his mouth this weekend was complete bullshit. And I was just like,
he's
come
just
on,
talking to talk this
stop
weekend.
playing the PR.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's funny because James, for those of you that don't know, James used to work essentially under Toto.
He
He
was
was
his
at
like number two,
he
basically.
was at Mercedes. So I mean, they have a relationship, a friendship, maybe we don't know. But
I'm
just
pretty
to
sure he
kind of
backed
see,
him to get the job at Williams. Like he
I
well
would,
endorsed him to
yeah,
get.
I would assume so. But uh, it was just a bizarre weekend from everybody. Everybody was just
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
this weekend.
yeah.
So I
Fired me
think
up.
yeah, I mean, James did come back out, but I think that was like the little bit of like seeing the real James. We haven't seen the real James. Everybody
I
thinks he's so
oh
nice and
no,
so
I was
like
so happy to see James
yeah,
as he was. Like
yeah,
just his, and again, I think it's just that frustration getting to him at this point of
yeah,
everybody these
yeah,
questions on him, regardless of what they are. But
yeah.
I think it's
And
just
I
getting
mean,
to him and it's just like, okay, guys, shut up. Like,
he's had a year of a lot of questions too, right? The
yeah,
call on, making Logan not drive and giving Albon the car. So he's kind of had to be more of an asshole this year than he's needed to be.
yeah, yeah.
And I think we're now seeing it and you're like, "Oh, not James. How dare you say that?"
I mean,
But
no, I loved it. I'm so
but
glad he
yeah.
did it. I'm so
Yeah.
glad he said it.
And he said he talked to Mick and, he explained what he meant and all that, but
We clearly know what he meant.
yeah. Yeah.
Clearly. And he's
Clearly.
not wrong. He's not
He's
in my
he's
opinion.
good. He's just what they're looking for in their car. In their car is not Mick. You have the
Let's be
option of a
honest here.
race
Not
winner.
there is not one of the 10 teams that is looking at Mick Schumacher as their driver. Because we have had tons of empty seats.
Yeah.
And I bet you not one of them has made that call.
No, none of them have.
No.
So, yeah.
And poor kid, he wants to drive, fine. You're not going to be a Formula One driver. Go drive
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's not
Try
going to happen in
another
Formula One.
try another league. The options are endless.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, that's my rant. So, now that we've gone through all that, I don't believe there was any other news, really.
Mm,
Nothing really of any note. Fresh set and dirty air. What was your fresh set?
oh, come
Do I
on.
even have to fucking
Come on.
ask? Jesus Christ.
I'm wearing
Okay, let's
my
move on to that. Let's.
I'm wearing my Leclerc jersey. Ooh, can't even see it. I'll post it. Yeah, Leclerc.
Well, your fresh
I,
set, yeah, Leclerc.
you know what? I think it was more exciting, and again, for everybody, it was more exciting because nobody realized what was happening. It was a
Yeah,
surprise to I think it was a surprise to Ferrari. It was a surprise to everybody on the grid. McLaren, the fans realizing at 5 laps left, the whole aura of the whole win, I think, was just
yeah.
really, really good. And then Charles.
And the endless pictures of Charles.
Well, exactly.
Um, Yeah, I would agree with that, but I have to make it a little bit different. So I will say the celebration in Italy. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Westminster. Nobody does it better. I haven't seen it better than that in I don't know how many races that I've watched. Even when Max wins in Holland, and you just see orange flares, great, but they
Yeah.
just kind of quietly sit in their seats and they
Yeah.
go and they take their bikes or and go home. Um, this was an
Yeah.
all-out party on the grid, just absolute jubilation.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think even, Charles wins in Monaco. They storm the grid a little bit. It's not like that though.
that was nice for him.
Yes. But this I
Well, because in
think
Monaco, everybody's still in their yachts or in their homes. They're like, "Oh, hey,
they
how's it
can't
going?"
really storm everywhere.
Yeah,
But like I think even for him, this is a good win for him. And it's 5 years to the day that he last won
yep,
Monza.
yep,
So crazy. 5 years to the
yeah,
day. So
yeah.
yeah, dirty air.
What can we choose from? And there's a lot more to choose from.
There's a lot. Uh I mean, I kind of have two, but McLaren just getting it wrong again. Um, yeah, getting it wrong, and then I would say, which is a bit of a fresh set as well, is uh, deserved, but Magnussen's penalty. It's a
Yeah.
deserved penalty, but now you're gonna miss a race. But it's like, oh, don't
Well,
see.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was a deserved penalty, but it's the least egregious of all his penalties this year.
Yes,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah,
everything else was deliberate and
yeah.
pointed, and this one was just like he locked up, and it was like,
This
oh
was
damn.
like this was a racing incident penalty. Like,
Surprising though, he hadn't had a penalty since like he got to that 10 points until now, which was like
yeah.
8 races.
Yeah, it was Canada, I think, right? That
Yeah, something like
Canada was the one that like
that.
pushed him right to that point. No, it was Monaco. And then we were all worried he was gonna miss Canada, and then they were like,
Oh, that's
"No,
right.
he's
Yes.
gonna be there." I think that was the one. I think that was
No, no. Oh yeah, wait. It was earlier.
whatever. Um,
Um,
yeah. So
my dirty air. Ooh, I got to give it to the Red Bulls. I can't go McLaren because you already got McLaren. So I'll give
I mean,
I'll
I
give
picked
it.
like four different
I know, I
things.
know. I'll give it to the Red Bulls. I mean, I don't know. I I don't know how you get it so wrong that you can't figure it out. It's not even necessary that they're stagnant and everybody else
Yeah,
is improving. It seems like they're going backwards.
yeah,
Like this
yeah,
car has now gone from something else. It was so bad that they went back to the old car body,
yeah,
like the dual cannon.
yeah.
They couldn't figure it out. They're like, okay, let's just go backwards. Uh,
They're
and even Max
literally going backwards.
Max has said, we got to change the whole car. He said it this weekend.
Mhm.
There's nothing good about it. Christian apparently had a Zoom meeting uh, earlier this weekend, I think it was, or last week or something like that, with Max and the engineers and their aerodynamicists, and saying like we have to also listen to the drivers and their feedback and like what's going
Yeah,
on. We got to fix something. It is absolute chaos
yeah,
in trying to figure
absolutely.
out this car.
Yeah. I mean, you
It's
made a before we started filming, you made a comment about, Perez getting closer
well,
to
they wanted
Max.
Perez closer to Max. They didn't want
Yeah.
Max dropping back down
Yeah.
closer to Perez.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's what's happening right now.
I've also seen the meme where it's that picture. You remember Toto a couple of races ago where Lewis won and he was in the paddock on the phone, and it was him FaceTiming Christian and saying, "Hey Christian, I fixed my fucking car."
Yeah, that's a good one. It is a good one. It is a
Yeah.
good
So
one.
that's my that's
Where did Lewis finish today?
Lewis finished in fifth, I believe, fifth or sixth.
We didn't hear much about. Oh,
I
we
believe it
finished,
was
yeah,
fifth.
ahead of Max.
Yes,
We
yeah,
didn't hear
just ahead of
much about
Max.
him today.
No, he kind of just
Drove.
drove a clean race, and that was it. Really, not much. I mean, he started sixth, I believe.
I think
Finished
that group
fifth.
of, I think that group kind of just moved up one. Max, uh, Hamilton, Perez.
Yeah, they were all kind of just one up. Yeah, I believe he
Yeah,
was the fifth.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm sorry, that was your dirty air.
That was my dirty air.
All right. Well, then, I mean, I think we're kind of That's it. That's it for the weekend.
That's it for the weekend.
um, so there is no race next weekend, and
No
then
race
we have
next weekend.
Baku in Azerbaijan
Yep.
weekend after.
Yep.
And in the meantime, you can find us and follow us on our social media. So Instagram, TikTok, X. I think that's it. And then you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Mute. No, Apple
Amazon.
Podcasts,
Yeah.
Amazon Music.
Well, it's
See,
almost
it's
like you're
funny.
away for a week. You
I was
completely
been
forgot.
away. I don't know how to do this. Um, at Fresh Set Podcast on all platforms. And we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Grab a fresh set.
Bye.